Hey, everybody, and welcome back to World's Okayest Writer. I am J.W. Orchard, author and author of the Proactive series, as we've talked before. Get Ghost Hunters at jworchardbooks.com. You can get it for free. But enough about me. I'm going to have an author on today named Andy Hastings. He's written a book called Space Ranger. It's excellent, and I'm going to bring him on, so we'll be right back. Hey, everybody, welcome back, and thank you very much. And now here is Andy Hastings. Welcome, Andy, and thank you for coming on World's Okayest Writer.
Thank you, JW. Glad to be here.
And you've written a book called Space Ranger. So can you tell me a little bit about that?
Space Ranger, The Martian Uprising. It is a retro sci-fi thriller. What that means to me is it's a sci-fi book. It's action adventure. It's a kind of a cop story, but it's set how they in the setting is how they viewed the future from the 30s and 40s of like the old serials that would keep you coming back Saturday morning with the Buck Rogers and the Flash Gordon, and it's pulling from that inspiration, and even a lot of the classic movies that sci-fi movies that ran up until the early 60s. I've always loved that nostalgic romantic view of the future as seen from the past.
And that's great. And by the way, folks, if you go to his website, and I'll put it up here real quick for you guys, you can get the first two chapters in audio form, and you get to listen to those and try it out. And I've listened to it, and folks, it is exciting. If you like that old school Buck Rogers, hard boiled, detective genre, you're gonna love this book. In fact, I was so impressed with it. I ordered it off Audible, so it's available on Audible. So those of you who have an Audible account, you can probably get it for free. So back to the story, Andy. Okay, so one of the main characters, or the main character, is a guy named Jethro. And so, where did you come up with Jethro and the whole Space Ranger idea?
The idea for this started with if you took the Texas Rangers of the Wild West and then all the lore that went along with that, and you place them in this retro future setting like a Buck Rogers, they would be called Space Rangers, and they would operate much the same way as they did like in a Western story. It's just being told through the lens of this retro sci-fi. One of the things I decided to do that I thought would be pretty fun would portray the Martians as they're the classic kind of 3 foot tall green with the antennas, but they dress and they speak like the old classic gangsters from the 40s noir movie. And I even had, when I wrote it, my intention was to have the main bad guy Martian sound like the Godfather, and the Jay Myers, the narrator that I hired to do the audio version of it. He did all the voices and just nailed the. I got goosebumps the first time I heard him do it with the voice.
And I'll
these
say
Rangers.
Yes. And I'll say this, having listened to that, right, folks. This is it. You're right. You go, what, Martian gangsters? Actually, when you listen to it, it really actually is entertaining. It makes sense, and you really buy into that. It is the Rangers in space, and that space is this is now the new Wild West, and there needs to be law and order. So it's really well done. It's really entertaining, and that's the great thing. It kept me entertained, and so I understand that you wrote this earlier, and then life got in the way. So what made you come out and bring it out now?
People, I guess many times they write the movie they wish they could see, and that's kind of what this was. I had ideas for a lot of different scenes, and one day I sat down and like, what if I kind of storyboarded out on the floor on a different pieces of paper, and then saw where the holes were. These don't work, and then started writing. Got a first draft done. Got married, started having kids, and stuck it on the shelf. And it sat on the shelf until my oldest son became a young teenager and saw it sitting there. He's like, "Dad, what is this?" And I could almost see him, one day kind of, I'm going to read Dad's book and see what this is about. He got to the end of it and came to me and was very genuine and earnest. And he's like, "Dad, what are you doing sitting on this thing? You need to finish this and get this out there." So I'm like, okay, there's my motivation to finish. I went and rewrote it several times and polished it up, hired an editor and proofreader, so I wouldn't be embarrassed when I stuck it out in the public. I'm a graphic designer by trade, so I illustrated the cover and designed it myself, and now it's available for the world to see. I'm currently writing on the sequel right now.
Excellent, excellent. So there'll be. So you plan how many books in this series is going to be 3 or
I,
10
I
or
intend it to be a trilogy.
good? Yeah, okay. So hey, folks, what I want to point out is right. Okay, Andy. So Andy wrote his not his opus, but he wrote this story. Things got in the way. That's the thing, folks. First of all, to get any book in print, you have to have a first draft. It must exist. Okay. So there's nothing wrong with that. Go back, look at your stuff, okay? And remember, you're probably more entertaining than you think you are. And as I've said before on this channel, remember what you like, other people like. So keep that in mind. All right. So write your story, whatever you want. Andy here has written Space Rangers based on, the old school noir, the Texas Rangers in space and all of these things, and it works as a story. So the thing is, Andy, you wrote your story. This is great. I mean, we met at SpaceCon, and what got my attention was the cover. I thought that was cool. And like I said, folks, you can do this. Now you say, okay, it's available. It's available on. You can get it paperback and
It's
hardback.
paperback, hardback, ebook, and then just recently the audio.
Okay, and that can all be found on rockettree.com.
Rocket Treehouse.
Oh, I'm sorry, Rocket Treehouse. Thanks for there you go, folks. Rocket Treehouse .com. So, any advice to writers who want to write in the kind of the genre or world that you write in?
I would say in general, the classic, they say, write what you know. You got to know it. I had consumed a lot of this retro. It's always intrigued me. I always, it's the movie I wish I could have seen.
There you
So
go.
I knew a lot about it. So there's references throughout, like you call it Easter eggs, of referencing other things that people that are familiar with those stuff would recognize. Um, I'd say write, it helps to write what you like, I think.
Obviously,
You could write about something that you don't like, I guess, if you're wanting to make a statement, but you're still, you got to know about it. Um, and as far as pulling inspiration, uh, I pulled inspiration from all kinds of places. The two characters coming together. There's a female character that's put with him as a partner, and I kind of drew from the X-Files. I always thought it was interesting. Scully was placed with Mulder by somebody pulling strings from higher up to slow him down, and actually she ends up helping him as an unintended consequence. You mentioned, the Western. I very much tried to tell it like a Western, and I think one of my big inspirations was Louis L'Amour. My dad had a ton of those books, so I ended up reading a lot of them, and I always liked the way that he would tell these stories. They were very fast paced. Had this hero that somehow always found a way to come out on top, but would get himself in these bad situations. I kind of wrote a little bit of that into this character. He's a quick draw. He's fast with the gun. His problem is he keeps losing it, so he has to
yeah.
come up with a
There's
different way. So
which is so, folks. When you talk about the character development, and you need to go get the book, folks. Okay, you need to. The character, it's well done. Yeah, he loses his gun. There is the boss. The characters are very interesting, and the way they react and what goes on. And folks, give it really look into it. One last question. So, well, actually, two questions. So, how long did it take you originally to write it?
I'd say it. Well, I guess it depends on how you look at it.
Well, how
I
long did it take to
I
get into the binder? Let's put that. Yeah.
yeah. I probably spent off and on. I mean, I wrote for a while,
Mm-hmm.
moved to a different city, met my wife. Um, Maybe a couple of years, I guess, because it I
All
was
right.
my first one.
Yeah.
And then it sat, and then I came back years later and
Yeah, and folks,
tightened
like,
it up.
it's going to happen. Like, just things are going to get in the way. But the fact is, again, you have to have the first drafts before you can have the published book. And so now, right, you're kind of leaning into this, and now you're seeing it, and it's good to see folks. You know, his son looked at it and said, "Wow, this is great." You know, take the advice of the people that tell you your story's good, right? Because if it's good, they say it's good, it probably is good, right? And don't discount because just because it's a relative of yours or your
And
spouse.
a son is going to give a dad an honest response. He's
Yeah.
going to be, if it's not good, he's going to be like, "Dad, what is this? This is goofy."
Well, and that's the thing. So keep that in mind. Andy, I do want to thank you for coming on today. And again, folks, go to rockettreehouse.com. We do want to give again a big round of applause to Andy for coming on. Thanks, Andy. Have a great day, and we're
Thank you,
going to
JW.
real quick. Thanks. Okay, so there you have it, folks. The interview with Andy Hastings. Go out and get Space Ranger at rockettreehouse.com. You won't be disappointed. Other than that, thank you all very much for watching this video. And again, as always, don't forget to write.